Today we're reading the book Wilford, Gordon, McDonald, Partridge by Mem Fox and illustrated by Julie Vivas. Today we're talking about how readers are always thinking as they're reading. It's the way they monitor their comprehension and make sure they understand what's going on in the book and take their thinking higher by making connections. Today we'll be doing a reading response to this story, so pay close attention to what happens in the story and pay attention and see if there's something interesting that you notice that you could share about. It could be from the story or it could be from an illustration. Here's where we meet the character Wilford, Gordon, McDonald, Partridge. He's outside in his backyard. There was once a small boy called Wilford, Gordon, McDonald, Partridge, and what's more, he wasn't very old either. His house was next door to an old people's home, and he knew all the people who lived there. Readers, do you know what the author means when she says an old people's home? That's a place where some people who are older live together, and maybe they don't want to have a big house on their own, or they're kind of tired of cleaning and cooking and their bodies don't work as great to do that anymore, and they don't have a family close by to live with, so they will sometimes go and live in places where they can each kind of have their own small room, but maybe someone else helps with all the cooking and cleaning. He liked Mrs. Jordan, who played the organ. He listened to Mr. Hosking, who told him scary stories. He played with Mr. Tippet, who was crazy about cricket. He ran errands for Miss Mitchell, who walked with a wooden stick. He admired Mr. Drysdale, who had a voice like a giant. But his favorite person of all was Miss Nancy Allison Delacourt Cooper, because she had 4 names just as he did. He called her Miss Nancy and told her all his secrets. One day, Wilford Gordon heard his mother and father talking about Miss Nancy. "Poor old thing," said his mother. "Why is she a poor old thing?" asked Wilford Gordon. "Because she's lost her memory," said his father. "It isn't surprising," said his mother. "After all, she is 96. "What's a memory?" asked Wilford Gordon. He was always asking questions. "It is something you remember," said his father. But Wilford Gordon wanted to know more, so he called on Mrs. Jordan, who played the organ. "What's a memory?" he asked. "Something warm, my child, something warm." He called on Mr. Hosking, who told him scary stories. "What's a memory?" he asked. "Something from long ago, me lad, something from long ago." He called on Mr. Tippet, who was crazy about cricket. "What's a memory?" he asked. "Something that makes you cry, my boy, something that makes you cry." He called on Miss Mitchell, who walked with a wooden stick. "What's a memory?" he asked. "Something that makes you laugh, my darling, something that makes you laugh." I'm noticing that each person describes a memory in a different way. Something you remember, something warm, something from long ago, something that makes you cry or laugh. He called on Mr. Drysdale, who had a voice like a giant. "What's a memory?" he asked. "Something as precious as gold, young man, something as precious as gold." So Wilford Gordon went home again to look for memories for Miss Nancy, because she had lost her own. He looked for the shoebox of shells he had found long ago last summer and put them gently in a basket. He found the puppet on strings, which always made everyone laugh, and he put that in the basket too. He remembered with sadness the medal which his grandfather had given him, and he placed it gently next to the shells. Now, when I first read about all of the things that he was getting and thought about it, I thought, why is he getting these random things? Shells, a puppet? But then I thought about what each one of them kind of represented, like how it related to what the person said. Like the puppet is something that makes you laugh, and someone had told him a memory makes you laugh. Someone had said a memory is something from long ago, so he got those shells from long ago. Next, he found his football, which was as precious as gold. And last of all, on his way to Miss Nancy's, he went into the hen house and took a fresh, warm egg from under a hen. Then Wilford Gordon called on Miss Nancy and gave her each thing one by one. "What a dear, strange child to bring me all these wonderful things," thought Miss Nancy. Then she started to remember. She held the warm egg and told Wilford Gordon about the tiny speckled blue eggs she once found in a bird's nest in her aunt's garden. She put a shell to her ear and remembered going to the beach by tram long ago, and how hot she had felt in her button-up boots. She touched the metal and talked sadly of the big brother she had loved, who had gone to the war and never returned. She smiled at the puppet on strings and remembered the one she had shown to her sister and how she had laughed with a mouth full of porridge. She bounced the football to Wilford Gordon and remembered the day she had met him and all the secrets they had told. And the two of them smiled and smiled because Miss Nancy's memory had been found again by a small boy who wasn't very old either. Readers, a memory is something that we can think about and recall from our lives, a time that something happened or an experience that we had. And sometimes for some older people, their brains get so full of all those memories that it becomes hard for them to remember them all. And I think it's so cool how these items, these things that Wilford Gordon picked out, they held a special memory for him and then a different memory for Miss Nancy. And I love how this little boy wanted to make his friend Miss Nancy happy. I can tell that they have a very special friendship and relationship. Sometimes I've seen younger kids or adults feel a little hesitant or afraid to visit places with a lot of older people. But it means so much to them to have visitors. That brings them so much joy. So I love what Wilford Gordon did for Miss Nancy. The first grade teachers love books like this that really touch your heart and make you feel something, and we love to think and reflect about them. We can't wait to see your answers to a couple of questions about this book. Off you go!